So I'm making reed caps, and I've been honing my system over the last few days because Robin Howell sent me 12 reeds for the Pidna Aulos, and he made them very recently, so they're still settling down. These are extremely exciting instruments, and they require a much longer reed than for the Louvre Aulos. But as I learn how to play the Pidna Aulos, it's become very obvious to me that reed caps are absolutely vital. The reed caps are what mean that when I pick up the instrument it's going to behave as I expect or as I want it to play. So, how to tailor reed caps to reeds individually? Well, let's start at the beginning. Garden prunings. This happens to be rose. Possibly I would, next time I would use something a little bit softer, but actually I'm enjoying, rose is quite hard, but it's got a nice soft pithy bit in the middle, which is just about right, so it's harder on the edges, a bit softer in the middle. I'm experimenting with that. Now, so step one is scrape off the bark. So, let's do this. Just getting rid of the bits that are just going to come off anyway. And I quite like having reed caps that are individual. In other words, I'm going to leave it uneven so that I can recognise my reed caps. They don't all look the same. And in fact, that goes right the way through to the threads. It's much easier to scrape the bark off on a long stick. So, after, I suppose I'd might take a little bit more off there, just to get rid of the strands, and then I cut them about double the length of the blade, and I'm using just a very fine little saw. There we go. So, having cut all my little sections, the next step is to make a little notch. 2 notches, one either side, for the binding. And I do this simply by rolling it along the table with a really sharp knife. And I'll begin actually with cutting in towards myself, like this. So, good bit of pressure. I'm trying to get deep, and I'll go all the way around. And, of course, the skill is to end up where you started. Can I meet my cut? Lovely. Okay, so now I'll do a V the other way. There we go. And the object here is, well, that hasn't worked out very nicely. Sometimes if you get it just right, then you get a little snake all the way around, and that's nice and quick. This one, maybe I just didn't press quite as hard as earlier, so the object is just to have a little notch all the way around. Something like that. You can tidy up if you want. Not mission critical. So having made 2 notches, one either end, I would then take my knife by eye, put it absolutely halfway, and then with my trusty hammer go. There we are. Now I want to mark one end, and I'm just going to do that with my thumbnail. Okay, so I've got a reference point, and the next step is to make the large diameter. Let's just have a little look at a reed. at the tip, I want a very large diameter curve, whereas at the back, towards the waist, I want a smaller diameter curve. So, I have stuck 2 bits of sandpaper to my hammer, and I found that the original curve of the hammer was too small a diameter. So what I did, so that I would just have one tool for my reed cap making, I sanded it flatter, and this is just about right. So I'm going to try and do this completely evenly both sides. I've not yet decided which end is going to be for the tip, and I sing a little song so that I know precisely how much I've sanded. Hossondis painu meren holosulupu rosollingon estitozin totelos ochronos apaidi. And then I swap it round, and I do exactly the same, so that if there's any unevenness in my sanding, I hopefully balance it out. Hossondis painu meren holosulupu. And what I should also say is that I've learnt making 10 reed caps that I didn't actually make this sandpaper wide enough. Not for these reeds. Now, reeds come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. So this bit of sandpaper here is absolutely fine for this reed here. But for the larger reeds, I'm just manually adjusting. So I'm doing, actually with the feel of my finger, I'm moving it so that this finger touches for 4, and then back to here for 4. So I'm going from side to side in order to make the gap broader, wider at the tip. Rosolligon estitozin totelos ochronos apaidi. Okay, now I'm happy with that. What I'm looking for is evenness. So the unsanded bit there and there should be the same. And I'll then do the same with this half, and then I'll put them together using my reference mark. There we go. And I'll look very carefully at both ends and decide which one I prefer, and then use that for the reed tip. So I have a beautiful symmetrical shape, and it's a bit like an eye, a very narrow slit. Let's get a finished reed cap. There we go. That's the sort of shape I'm looking for at the mouth, at the tip. Now, of course, at the other end, it needs to be bigger. Those lips, the mouth is opening. Okay, so that's what we're aiming for. So in order to do that, I've used a different part of the hammer, and I've stuck some sandpaper. Now, this is a slightly different sort of sandpaper. It's that really expensive fabric. So it's the carbide, the sand hasn't been stuck to paper. It's been stuck to textile, and it's vastly superior. If you can get hold of that sort of sandpaper in a good DIY store, that's what you want. And I have some 80 grit for this coarse work, and then I'm going to finish it off with 180. And then I also have, somewhere lying around, a piece of 240. And that gives me everything I need for these reed caps. Where's my 240 grit gone? I'll locate it later. So, I'm now going to, having chosen which is going to be my tip, I'll carefully note which side I'm working on for the back of the reed. And here, if that's flat, I'm going to angle it a little bit so that I'm not doing the whole of the reed cap, and again, just not so long this time. Hosansis painum meren holosulupo. I'm going to check. Am I central? Not bad. I'm going to keep the sandpaper clean so I can note how even I am, or adjust by looking at where the wood is coming off. Now, how are we getting on? So you can see there that I've started just sanding on one end. Now that angle is too much. I'm going to adjust my angle so that the mountain gets taller. So that was like that. I'm going to just adjust it a little bit and try and keep that consistent. Create a new angle. Okay. Now, I'm looking at that mountain. And I'm seeing it's not exactly symmetrical. I'm not terribly happy about that. So, I want to continue until it touches but doesn't remove the pencil line. And I don't want to be wobbling at all. I want that to be absolutely flat on the hammer. Oh no! Okay, that was too much because I have sanded away the pencil line. So I'm going to look at that. Okay, well that's not too bad because I've only just touched the pencil line, but ideally I would not do that. Okay? Now, having created two perfectly symmetrical hills on the reed, the next step is to remove this corner. This is where you need really nice light. So I can see that corner quite well. With my knife, I would remove that corner on both sides, freshly sharpened, and seeking, again I will draw that all the way across, and this all the way across. I don't want to touch my pencil line. Well, I will remove this corner there. There isn't a corner to remove at the front. So I want to remove that corner there and all the way along there. That ridge has to go. So here we go. There we are. So angle there, and I want to get a nice flat. This knife is almost flat. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a flat zone all the way across like that. Now here, there's a little ridge. Now I don't want that ridge. This is the job, to remove the ridge and make so I sort of try and keep my eye both at the heel of the knife and at the tip simultaneously. So I just nudge the pencil line. Yeah, okay, that's that. I'm just nudging the pencil line, but not removing it. Just as far as the middle. You don't want to go any further than the middle. So now switch it round. Do the same on the other side. So I'm removing that ridge and keeping my knife just. There we go. Again, just as far as the middle. Great. Now, having done that to both of them, what I do is I take my 80 grit sandpaper, here we are, and I put the corners together. Oops. There we go. This is one of my favourite little tools. There we go. Squeeze that, and if I just hold it there, ha! There we go. That gives me the perfect shape, because it's sort of triangular. It's triangular there, and I put it, I'm just going to turn that hammer over so that I've got a nice little rest, and I can really see what I'm doing. There we go. So now, my task is to remove all the ridges from the cutting. I want to make this just beautifully smooth, and I find that 80 grit is about right, and I also find that this this little, well, it's fairly tough fabric. You couldn't do this with normal sandpaper. It needs to be this professional, expensive sandpaper. Only the best. Okay, so it just creates a natural curve. There's just enough stiffness in the paper to do the job. So, having got that far, I then roll up my sandpaper into this. Now this is the most important bit. Okay, so I'm going to go like that, because I'm keeping it flat. I don't want to be up or down, I want to be absolutely flat. And this is, I'm trying to get the same angle as the reed, so the reed fans out. So I'm fanning my sanding all the way along until I've got rid of any pencil marks or lines. Okay, now I'm quite pleased with that. Beautiful. So I would do that with both halves. Now comes, so far, I mean, that is it could be for any reed, or a large variety of reeds. Now comes the tailoring to a specific reed. So I'm going to, I'm very pleased with this one. So we've got the tip end there, and we've got the back of the reed there. Let's pause.